Will we maybe see a Deadpool 4? Oh God, no.
I had absolutely no input into what happened.
Ryan Reynolds just blindsided Disney. After they suddenly cut his salary, he decided to hit hard and make a move that's already causing chaos behind the scenes. If what we hear is true, what he's doing might just force Marvel to kill Deadpool permanently. Disney's Deadpool double cross. The gloves are off, and Hollywood's favorite fourth-wall-breaking anti-hero may never return.
Will we maybe see a Deadpool 4? Oh God, no.
Why? Because the man behind the mask, Ryan Reynolds, just got hit with what insiders are calling one of the most cold-blooded salary slashings in Disney's modern history. And he's not staying quiet. In fact, he's reportedly plotting revenge, and not the playful, red-suited kind. We're talking scorched earth, studio rupturing, franchise-destroying revenge. Let's be crystal clear. There may be no more Deadpool, not because fans stopped watching, not because the character lost relevance, but because, allegedly, Disney decided to cut Reynolds out of the deal he built with his own blood, sweat, and self-written scripts. And the most shocking part? It was after he saved their billion-dollar franchise. In fact, to understand why all of these matters, you need to know just how intimately this man built Deadpool from scratch. Back in 2009, Ryan Reynolds was just a sarcastic supporting actor in X-Men Origins Wolverine, playing a neutered version of Wade Wilson that fans immediately hated. The film butchered the character, both literally and figuratively. Reynolds knew it, so he did the unthinkable. He fought to get the rights back. He assembled a writing team, he helped leak the test footage, and after years of pushback, he forced 20th Century Fox to make the Deadpool movie no one believed in, and it shattered records.
Well, yeah, we developed the script 6 years ago, wrote this fantastic script. It leaked online, and Deadpool fans went nuts for it. So the studio granted us a small amount of money to make test footage. This test footage that we shot then sat on the shelf for 4 years, as it does. They didn't do anything with it.
He continued by saying,
just a little under 2 years ago, it leaked accidentally onto the internet.
Accidentally.
And, well, here's the thing. The fans freaked out, the Deadpool fans freaked out and overwhelmed Fox, and Fox basically had to greenlight the movie.
The 2016 Deadpool film didn't just revive a character, it revolutionized the superhero genre. According to Box Office Mojo, it grossed over $782 million worldwide on a $58 million budget. It made Deadpool one of the highest-grossing R-rated films of all time.
Deadpool has broken more boundaries than just the fourth wall. It has become the highest-grossing R-rated film of all time.
Then Reynolds did it again with Deadpool 2. So when Disney acquired Fox in 2019 and inherited the Deadpool franchise, many fans assumed the House of Mouse would elevate Reynolds' position, perhaps even give him more creative control. After all, he'd earned it. What they didn't expect was that Disney would reportedly begin stripping him of that control piece by piece. Behind the scenes, whispers started to circulate. Word among Hollywood insiders was that Disney's top brass were uncomfortable with the franchise's signature R-rated tone. Executives allegedly began pushing for more family-friendly edits. Tensions mounted, and then came the bombshell. In late 2024, Deadpool and Wolverine was finally greenlit. Reynolds would reunite with Hugh Jackman. Fans were euphoric, but according to one source close to the production, this was when the knives really came out. The source claimed that when Reynolds' team reviewed the final profit participation terms, what he would earn from the back-end gross, they discovered something stunning. His compensation had been quietly restructured. The net result? A drastically reduced payout compared to earlier Deadpool films. And not just in percentage, in absolute dollars. Reynolds' sources say was livid. What makes this betrayal so profound is that Reynolds wasn't just the face of Deadpool. He was the architect, the producer, the lead screenwriter. According to his own words in the Actors on Actors interview, he wasn't just a passenger. He built the damn plane.
If I'm going to bomb or win, I want to have a say in it, and I want to have some authorship. And if I'm gonna bomb, I want to be the architect of my own demise. I don't want to be a passenger on someone else's nose-diving jet plane.
If the salary rumors are true, Disney didn't just ignore that authorship, they erased it. But Ryan didn't go public, not at first. Instead, according to insiders close to his Maximum Effort production company, Reynolds began working behind the scenes, whispering to trusted collaborators that Deadpool 3 would be his last, that if Disney was going to treat him like a commodity, he would act accordingly, give them the film, then walk. A source from within Marvel Studios, who requested anonymity, told us he felt betrayed, like they waited until the last minute to pull the rug out from under him. This wasn't just business, this was personal. And then came a cryptic moment in the Actors on Actors interview that now feels chilling in retrospect.
And when you have a point of view
Yeah.
and it can't be expressed, even though you try.
Like something, a monkey rattling a cage that's gonna like start chewing the bars.
Terrible feeling.
Was that just a quip, or was it a bitter truth buried under a forced smile? Sources say that Reynolds began turning down meetings with Marvel executives shortly after the interview was filmed. In fact, according to Variety, Deadpool's future within the MCU remains uncertain, despite the box office buzz. One Disney insider called the relationship fragile and potentially unsalvageable. But here's where things get even darker. Shortly after those reports surfaced, Maximum Effort registered a series of new production trademarks, including one for a meta-superhero, Deconstruction series that several analysts believe is a spiritual sequel to Deadpool, but produced entirely outside of Disney. The working title, Dead Wrong, and it gets better. The show's logline, according to one insider, a former superhero actor discovers his studio sold him out, so he uses his fame to destroy them from within. Coincidence? Or calculated vengeance? Either way, this feud is about more than just money. It's about power, control, and a star who spent a decade building a billion-dollar franchise, only to be cast aside once the profits were secured. Fans may still see Deadpool and Wolverine hit theaters, but it could very well be the last time we see Ryan Reynolds in red.
I don't think I can do that again. So I think if he comes back, it's going to be in a someone else's movie.
And if this is how Disney treats its most loyal talent, you have to ask, who's next? The shocking part isn't just that Ryan Reynolds may never return as Deadpool, it's that this entire betrayal might have been engineered from the start. Let's rewind, not to Deadpool's billion-dollar box office victories, but to the precise moment Disney acquired 20th Century Fox. That $71.3 billion acquisition didn't just expand Disney's empire, it completely reshaped Hollywood. In the fallout, entire divisions were shut down, hundreds lost jobs, franchises were quietly shelved, but amid the rubble, Deadpool survived. Or so we thought. According to an internal memo leaked to the Wall Street Journal, Disney's executive strategy was to absorb high-performing, brand-cohesive IPs. Translation? Anything edgy, adult, or subversive was either to be tamed or terminated. And Deadpool, with its uncensored humor, unapologetic violence, and relentless satire, was none of the above. But they couldn't cancel it outright, not without facing fan backlash and wiping out a proven cash cow. So they did something more subtle. They began sidelining Ryan Reynolds, and he saw it coming. As early as 2021, Reynolds began giving cryptic interviews about needing a break from acting, even though multiple projects were in the pipeline. During the Actors on Actors conversation with Andrew Garfield, he made repeated references to the loss of creative control, masked under charm, but tinged with disillusionment.
When you do try to express the point of view and you're sort of placated or told, that we're not going to do that, or you say something that sort of feels reasonable, like, let's stop spending on spectacle and let's spend on character.
Yeah.
Or like, why are we putting all the money in special effects when we could just write,
Right.
and that's sort of dismissed. If that happens a couple of times, you sort of go, okay.
That's not the voice of a happy collaborator. That's the voice of a man who feels caged in his own creation. Reynolds was no longer just making movies. He was negotiating survival in a system that valued corporate conformity over artistic autonomy. This is where things took a turn. By the time production ramped up for Deadpool and Wolverine, Disney reportedly began micromanaging the project in ways Reynolds found antithetical to everything Deadpool stands for, according to insider leaks reported by The Hollywood Reporter. From line vetoes to character arc restrictions, the studio seemed determined to sand down the edges, the very edges that made Deadpool iconic. But Reynolds had one last move to play, the film itself. According to the Actors on Actors interview, Reynolds insisted on structuring the movie around Rashomon-style perspectives, fractured truths, unreliable narrators, moral gray areas. Not exactly Disney's preferred formula, and yet somehow the project moved forward. But insiders believe that once filming was complete, the real blow came during post-production, in the form of a back-end deal drastically below market value. He was expecting Marvel to treat him like Robert Downey Jr., said one source familiar with the negotiations. Instead, they treated him like an interchangeable cog. Think about that. Reynolds resurrected a franchise. He rewrote the rules of superhero films. He reunited with Hugh Jackman to deliver the biggest Marvel event outside of Avengers, and they responded by cutting his paycheck. It wasn't just about money. It was a message. You're no longer in control. This wasn't an actor talking about collaboration. It was a man forced to justify his worth to a company he helped save. And while Disney execs may believe they've won this round, that they've tamed Deadpool, they may have underestimated who they're dealing with. Because Ryan Reynolds isn't just a pretty face in a red suit. He's a producer, a writer, a businessman, and when he wants to, he's also a saboteur. A quiet rumor now circulates in Hollywood that Reynolds has already begun working on a Deadpool-like character through his own company, Maximum Effort. Something freer, darker, meaner. Something that can say what Disney won't let him say. And when that project lands, insiders believe it will serve as his open letter to the the industry, a cinematic mic drop, a final kiss-off to the studio system that tried to domesticate the wildest hero in its arsenal. Ryan Reynolds was Disney's golden goose. They wrung him dry, and now he's coming for them. The Revenge of Ryan Reynolds. When Ryan Reynolds realized he'd been cornered by the very system he helped elevate, he didn't retreat. He planned. He smiled for the cameras. He played the game. He gave the studio their golden reunion with Hugh Jackman, wrapped in layers of self-aware banter and nostalgic packaging. But all the while, beneath the mask and charm, he was laying the groundwork for what insiders now call one of the most cunning long cons in modern Hollywood. And the most devastating part? Disney greenlit every step of it. Let's start where most people missed it. During the marketing of Deadpool and Wolverine, the most visible sign of what was coming wasn't on billboards or trailers. It was in Reynolds' silence. The man known for his razor-sharp interviews and viral marketing genius had gone eerily quiet. Where was the rapid-fire Instagram content? Where were the maximum effort style behind-the-scenes clips? Why weren't we seeing the Reynolds-Jackman bromance flood social media? According to multiple sources, Disney's new internal marketing policies required Reynolds to submit every social post and interview talking point for advance clearance, a policy that might work on new MCU recruits. But with Ryan, it was like putting a gag order on a jazz musician mid-solo. This wasn't a partnership. This was a muzzle. And so, Reynolds did what he's always done best. He performed a double act. Publicly, he leaned into promotion. Privately, he assembled a new playbook. And it started with Maximum Effort. Most fans still associate Maximum Effort with quirky commercials, Mint Mobile, Aviation Gin, Wrexham FC content. But what they didn't realize was that Reynolds had been quietly using that infrastructure to test narrative formats, audience engagement techniques, and even distribution models, all independent of traditional studios. As early as 2022, Maximum Effort had signed a multi-year deal with Fubo TV to launch an entire ad-supported content channel, giving Reynolds not just a platform, but his own broadcast pipeline. Insiders now say this wasn't about commercials, it was about control. Why pitch shows to platforms when you can own the screen? That's how Dead Wrong was born. While the show has yet to be officially announced, trademark filings and industry leaks suggest it's a dark comedy about a superhero actor betrayed by his parent studio, only to build his own counterculture franchise using piracy, fan forums, and underground storytelling networks. Multiple insiders confirm that Ryan Reynolds himself co-wrote the pilot, and while the name Deadpool will never appear, the parallels are too pointed to ignore. The leaked synopsis, a disillusioned former superhero icon known for his sharp tongue and chaotic style, is forced out by a corporate merger. But rather than fade into obscurity, he begins leaking fan-made sequels that go viral, and the studio has no legal way to stop him. If that sounds like a satirical middle finger to Disney's IP chokehold, it's because it is. And it doesn't stop at satire. Industry tracking boards show that Maximum Effort has quietly registered several additional titles under the Dead Wrong creative banner. Among them, Fourth Wall, Fifth Fist, IP Freely, Mouse Trapped, each described as meta-commentary on the commodification of superheroes in the streaming era. And guess who the studio in these stories is rumored to be a stand-in for? A massive mouse-eared conglomerate known internally as Magic Hat Pictures. Now, you might ask, can Reynolds really get away with this without being sued? The answer? Yes, and here's how. Most of Reynolds' Disney contracts revolve around the Deadpool IP, not the conceptual themes he helped popularize. That means as long as his new work avoids direct character names, Marvel logos, and copyrighted visuals, he can explore similar tones, narrative techniques, and even character archetypes. Think of it like Elon Musk leaving Tesla to build a rival electric car company. But now the car makes fun of Teslas. Reynolds isn't just building new content, he's building a rival creative ecosystem. And the strategy isn't just legal, it's symbolic. Because Deadpool wasn't just a character to fans. He represented something deeper. Irreverence in a sanitized world, creativity in a factory setting, authenticity in a sea of branding. And if Reynolds no longer has the rights to Deadpool the character, he'll create Deadpool the spirit under a new name, one he owns entirely. Let's not forget the timing either. All of this, the copyright filings, the Maximum Effort expansions, the subtle leaks, began after the infamous salary restructuring rumors began circulating inside Marvel. A source close to the Deadpool and Wolverine post-production team told us he found out his back-end compensation had changed, not the upfront, the back-end, the big money, the legacy money, and he didn't flip out. He got very, very quiet. That's when I knew we were going to war. And war, it seems, is coming. One high-level entertainment attorney we spoke with noted, Reynolds is pulling off a creative jailbreak. He's leveraging public goodwill and insider knowledge to invent his own franchise rules, while the traditional system is still stuck rebooting old ones. He's not the only one. Following Reynolds' lead, several other MCU alumni are now exploring independent creative creative endeavors, often through dark comedy, animation, or indie film, to escape what they privately refer to as the phage funnel. That is, the now notorious system of multiple re-edits, mandatory crossover teases, and character appearances being dictated by spreadsheet rather than script. Sources say Reynolds has already reached out to at least 3 former Marvel stars, names not yet public, to guest direct episodes of the upcoming Dead Wrong series. If true, this will be the first major creative exodus from Marvel to a project that directly lampoons the studio, and all of it was funded by, wait for it, Deadpool profits. Deadpool built the castle. Now Ryan Reynolds is setting fire to it, from the inside. Marvel's Civil War and the collapse of creative control. The moment Ryan Reynolds chose rebellion, a fault line split Marvel down the middle. On one side, a corporate monolith tightening its grip. On the other hand, a growing faction of creators demanding oxygen. And right in the center, the man who made Deadpool profitable, disruptive, and deeply human. But this wasn't just about one actor. This is the story of a systemic implosion. It begins with a word that haunts every Disney executive now: attrition. Over the last 3 years, Marvel Studios has lost more creative leads, post-production supervisors, and writers than at any point in its history. But the exit interviews don't talk about money. They talk about freedom, or the lack of it. I felt like a factory line worker. One anonymous former Marvel writer told The Wrap, "My job wasn't to tell a story, it was to connect 2 other stories. I wasn't a writer, I was a pipe." This sentiment echoes what Reynolds hinted at in the now viral Actors on Actors sit-down. An emotional, unscripted moment where he says,
What I mean is I would be on big movies, and I would be nervous, and I knew the stakes, but I had absolutely no input into what happened.
Those weren't metaphors, that was a diagnosis. Because the same mechanisms that once made Marvel powerful, its continuity, its shared universe, its brand guardianship, have become its creative poison. The most devastating example? Blade. Once heralded as the R-rated future of the MCU, the Mahershala Ali-led reboot has now cycled through 5 different scripts, multiple showrunners, and at least one near cancellation. Sources from the writing room claim that studio executives rejected anything that didn't feel Marvel enough. Meanwhile, over in the VFX trenches, the rebellion is boiling over. Teams from She-Hulk, Quantumania, and Secret Invasion have publicly accused Marvel of abusing contractors with impossible schedules and incoherent direction. Even Kevin Feige, the once undisputed architect of Marvel's golden age, is now said to be pushed into a corner, forced to balance talent retention with corporate mandates from Disney CEO Bob Iger and CFO Hugh Johnston. And that's where Reynolds becomes dangerous. He's not a contractor. He's not just talent. He's a visionary who walked away fully armed. His show Dead Wrong isn't just a creative response, it's an industrial provocation. It's already attracted interest from platforms like Amazon Prime and A24. One insider familiar with the negotiations says, "It's not about money, it's about the narrative. Ryan wants to tell the truth about what it's like to build a character from scratch, only to be told you're no longer needed. And that truth is contagious." Sources say early drafts of Dead Wrong include coded nods to Marvel's VFX crunch scandals, creative bottlenecks, and even a fictional executive nicknamed the Brandfather, who insists that all stories must pass through the algorithm of Unity. The character is reportedly modeled after multiple real-life studio heads. When asked for comment, a Disney rep said, "We're excited to see the film, Deadpool and Wolverine, released in 2025 and proud of the work everyone's done." But privately, executives are scrambling, because Reynolds isn't just walking away with a franchise. He's walking away with an army of creators who trust him more than they trust the system. Among them, 2 former Marvel screenwriters, 1 post-production supervisor, and at least 1 ex-Disney Plus series lead director, all of whom are now rumored to be working on Maximum Effort's Project Redacted, title to be revealed fall 2025. And what does this mean for Marvel's future? If even 10% of this rebellion succeeds, Disney faces a crisis of narrative trust, not from fans, but from within. Because Reynolds' message is clear: make the story yours, or they'll rewrite it without you. In 2026, when Dead Wrong drops, fans won't just be comparing plot lines, they'll be comparing philosophies. And Disney, they'll be watching a revolution they accidentally funded. And with that, we've come to the end of this deep dive. For more juicy content like this, smash that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, and check out the cards showing on your screen for more videos. Don't forget to comment your thoughts below.
Oh, now they will. The greatest thing that could ever have happened to Marvel was having Disney buy us.
At first, the creators of Marvel's legendary characters seemed thrilled about the merger with Disney. It felt like a dream come true. But over time, that excitement faded. Now, the tone has completely shifted.
Hi, heroes. This is Stan Lee coming at you. Want you to know, Marvel has always been and always will be a reflection of the world.
The very people who gave life to these heroes are speaking out, sending a loud and clear message: disrespect will not be tolerated. So what went wrong between Marvel's creators and the House of Mouse? the message that changed everything. Imagine if the most powerful entertainment corporation in the world was finally forced to face its own moral reckoning. It's May 2025, and what started as a grassroots rebellion by grieving families has grown into a movement that's reshaping the entire entertainment industry. These weren't just legal victories, they were declarations of independence from corporate tyranny. The thunderclap moment came when they stood up and said, "Enough!" Every major studio executive in Hollywood felt it. The creator families, armed with nothing but determination and the Copyright Act of 1976, had managed to make Disney, yes, the same Disney that owns ABC, ESPN, and controls almost 40% of the box office market blink. This wasn't David versus Goliath anymore. This was David assembling his own Avengers team.
It's a marriage made in heaven, and with all the power of Disney behind us, well, you see the results. You see movies like The Avengers, Iron Man, they're all tremendous hits.
So it was the luckiest thing in the world that Disney bought Marvel. The settlements of 2023 weren't just legal documents. They were surrender papers from a corporate empire that had finally been forced to acknowledge its creative foundation. When Steve Ditko's estate settled in December 2023 and the other creator estates in June 2023, they didn't just win money. They won something infinitely more valuable, the power to redefine what respect means in the entertainment industry. Let's be crystal clear about what happened here. For decades, Disney operated under a simple principle. We own what we buy, and what we own, we control absolutely. The idea that creators or their families might have ongoing rights was treated as a quaint notion from a bygone era. But these families, these real-life Avengers, proved that the principle was built on quicksand.
Kid, I'm Mickey Mouse. I can do whatever the hell I want.
Won't people think that's a lazy and desperate nostalgia-milking cash grab?
They'll think whatever I tell them to think. Want to be Dr. Doom?
Dr. Doom?
Hey, is there an echo in here or something? Yeah, Dr. Doom. I'll give you your own Avengers film. Hell, I'll even give you two.
This chilling portrayal of corporate arrogance in our source material perfectly captures the mentality that these families successfully challenged. What makes this transformation truly revolutionary is its timing. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has generated over $22.93 billion in box office revenue alone. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They represent the value of creative ideas that were once compensated at $20 per page. Imagine creating Iron Man and being told your contribution was worth the same as a pizza order in 1963. The psychological warfare these families endured was immense. Disney's strategy was obvious. Make it so painful, so expensive, so time-consuming to fight that surrender becomes preferable to justice. But they misunderstood something fundamental about creative families. These aren't venture capitalists motivated purely by profit. These are people fighting for their parents, grandparents' legacies. When Marvel sued the heirs using the work-for-hire argument, they essentially claimed that creativity has no ongoing value, that the act of imagination, of birthing cultural icons from nothing, was worth only the initial paycheck. The family's message in response was clear. Our parents created mythos that define modern culture. Their value extends far beyond what corporate America decided to pay them in the 1960s. The ripple effects are already transforming the industry landscape. Warner Brothers, seeing the writing on the wall, has reportedly begun proactive outreach to DC creator estates. Sony, facing its own Spider-Man rights challenges, is reconsidering how it treats creative legacies. Even Universal, which clutches its partial Hulk rights like a security blanket, knows that respect is now a business necessity, not a corporate nicety. The true power of this victory lies in what it symbolizes. These families essentially forced Disney to acknowledge that financial success must be shared with those who planted the seeds of that success. It's a principle that extends far beyond entertainment. In tech, in fashion, in any industry where creativity drives profit, the message is the same: respect the creator or face the consequences. Disney attempted to create a monopoly on pop culture mythology, only to be reminded that mythology belongs to the mythmakers first. What the creator families achieved goes beyond individual compensation. They've created a template for artistic justice in the corporate age. Every future creator entering Hollywood now knows they have ammunition if their legacy is disrespected. Every corporation knows that the cost of dishonoring creators' families has now been demonstrated in public, expensive litigation. The emotional impact cannot be overstated. These are children watching their parents' life work transformed into global phenomena, while being treated as legal obstacles to profit. The settlements represent more than financial resolution. They represent emotional justice for families who've carried the weight of feeling invisible in plain sight. For Marvel fans specifically, there's now a deeper emotional connection to every character on screen. Knowing that these characters' creators' families fought for recognition adds gravitas to every appearance of Iron Man, Spider-Man, or Doctor Strange. These aren't just CGI spectacles. They're the visual manifestations of a real real-world battle for creative respect. The transformation in corporate culture doesn't stop at Disney's doorstep. The entire entertainment ecosystem is recalibrating. Streaming services are reconsidering creator contracts. Production companies are building more ethical frameworks. Even theme parks are examining how they honor the artists behind their attractions. The message has been received industry-wide. As new Marvel projects continue production, each carries the DNA of this struggle. Robert Downey Jr. returning as Dr. Doom isn't just a casting decision. It's happening in a world where creator families now have a seat at the table. The power dynamics have shifted irrevocably. The ultimate irony is that by forcing Disney to respect its creative foundation, these families may have actually saved the Marvel brand's soul. Characters have deeper meaning when their creation stories include dignity and recognition. Audiences connect more powerfully when they know the architects of their myths are honored. Looking ahead, the industry faces a new paradigm. The creator families have proven that the little guy can win, that corporate giants can be held accountable, that creative justice is possible. They've transformed the entertainment industry's moral compass one settlement at a time. This victory resonates beyond Hollywood. Every worker who's ever felt undervalued, every family that's fought for recognition, every artist who's wondered about their legacy, they all see themselves in these Marvel creator families. It's a universal story of standing up for human dignity in the face of corporate indifference. The message is clear and unmistakable. Respect is not negotiable. Creativity has eternal value, and families will fight for justice even against the most powerful corporations on Earth. The Avengers may save the world on screen, but their creators' families have saved something equally precious: the soul of artistic collaboration. This war between the Avengers and Disney isn't new. It's just the latest round in a silent battle that's been raging behind the scenes for years. The legal war behind closed doors. The battleground was set long before the public knew war had been declared. It's 2021. The MCU is riding high on Endgame's success. Disney executives are counting their billions. But in the shadows, copyright termination notices are being filed like grenades thrown into Disney's legal department. The countdown to corporate reckoning has begun, and nobody at Disney is prepared for what's coming. These weren't random families looking for a payday. These were the estates of Marvel's foundational architects, armed with a powerful weapon: the U.S. Copyright Act, the law that says after 35 years, creators can reclaim their work from corporate hands. Disney's response was swift and brutal preemptive lawsuits that screamed, "How dare you challenge our absolute ownership?" Let's talk about what really happened behind those mahogany doors. Steve Ditko, co-creator of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange; Don Heck, the artistic genius behind Iron Man and Black Widow; Gene Colan, who gave us Captain Marvel and Falcon. These names weren't just credits on old comics. They were the architects of what would become a $22 billion movie franchise. Yet Disney's legal strategy treated them like common thieves trying to steal Disney property. The psychological warfare was textbook corporate intimidation. Disney, with its virtually unlimited legal budget, structured its lawsuits to drain the estate's resources. They knew most families couldn't survive a protracted battle, but they miscalculated spectacularly. The legal arguments Disney employed were masterfully cynical. The work-for-hire doctrine was wielded like a blunt instrument. Their position: if you were paid a day rate in 1963, you forfeit all future rights forever. Period. No discussion, no acknowledgement that your creation would become worth billions, just a cold, corporate, "we paid you what we agreed." But here's what the lawsuits really revealed about Disney's corporate philosophy. In internal documents that came to light, the company's position was that these were annoyances to be eliminated through legal pressure, not creative partners to be respected, not foundation layers of their empire. Annoyances. That word alone cost Disney millions in public relations damage. The estates banded together in what became known as the Creator Coalition. They shared resources, coordinated legal strategies, and most importantly, shared emotional support. While Disney's lawyers processed these challenges as legal puzzles to solve, these families were fighting for their loved ones' legacies. The emotional stakes couldn't have been more asymmetrical. Consider the specific characters at stake. Iron Man had grossed over $8 billion in box office revenue alone. Spider-Man, with Tom Holland's portrayals, added another $6 billion to Disney's coffers, even with Sony's share. Black Widow, Hawkeye, Falcon, each represents hundreds of millions in revenue streams. Yet the families who created these icons had to fight tooth and nail just to be recognized as more than hired hands from the 1960s. The first settlement came in June 2023. Larry Lieber and the estates of Don Heck, Gene Colan, and Don Rico reached agreements with Marvel. The terms were sealed, but industry insiders suggest Disney finally realized that the cost of continued litigation exceeded the cost of fair compensation. The message was sent: challenge us, and you might just win. Steve Ditko's estate held out longer. The Spider-Man co-creators' representatives knew they held the strongest hand. Spider-Man wasn't just another character. He was Marvel's crown jewel, especially after the Sony partnership. The psychological pressure from Disney intensified, but Ditko's estate had learned from watching DC's treatment of Superman's creators. They refused to blink. The final settlement came in December 2023. Terms undisclosed, but the joint filing mentioned amicable resolution, corporate speak for "we paid what they demanded to make this go away." Disney had been forced into a corner, continue fighting and risk setting legal precedent that could affect their entire catalog, or settle quietly and maintain the illusion of absolute control. Behind the scenes, industry lawyers report that Disney's legal teams were rattled. For decades, they'd operated under the assumption that their contracts were bulletproof. The creator lawsuits exposed vulnerabilities in a legal framework built on 1960 S-era understanding of intellectual property. The corporate machinery designed to crush opposition had encountered something it couldn't defeat: generational determination. The parallel legal battle with Interdigital Inc. over patent infringement in Marvel films demonstrates Disney's broader legal challenges. When multiple fronts open simultaneously, even Disney's vast resources become strained. The creator families were part of a larger pattern. Disney's aggressive business model was making enemies faster than it could eliminate them. What these lawsuits really uncovered was the human cost of corporate indifference. Legal documents detailed how creators worked in tiny apartments while Disney executives lived in mansions, how sketches worth billions were sold for grocery money, how the architects of modern mythology died without seeing their creations' true value. The settlements created a new legal framework for the industry. Entertainment lawyers report unprecedented interest in creator-friendly contracts following the Marvel resolutions. Studios are preemptively renegotiating old deals to avoid future lawsuits. The creator estates set a precedent that will echo through entertainment law for decades. Disney's attempt to paint these lawsuits as greedy families seeking undeserved riches backfired spectacularly. Public sentiment sided overwhelmingly with the creators' heirs. Social media campaigns highlighted the stark contrast between corporate profits and creator compensation. The narrative Disney tried to control slipped through their fingers like sand. The legal war revealed something fundamental about modern entertainment economics. The line between creator and corporation wasn't meant to be a chasm. These lawsuits forced acknowledgement that creative collaborations require ongoing respect, not just initial payment. Disney's resistance to this principle cost them far more than proactive fairness would have. As litigation dragged on, internal Disney documents suggested growing concern about brand damage. The company that built its empire on family values was publicly fighting the families of their creative foundations. The irony wasn't lost on the public. Every Spider-Man ticket sold came with questions about whether his creator's family was being fairly treated. The settlements represent more than legal resolution. They mark a turning point in corporate America's relationship with creative labor. If entertainment giants can be forced to respect creator legacies, what about tech innovators, fashion designers, software developers? The precedent stretches beyond Hollywood's borders. For the creator families, the legal journey was both vindication and ordeal. Years of stress, uncertainty, and public scrutiny took their toll, but they emerged victorious, having proven that David can indeed defeat Goliath when armed with justice and determination. Their message to future creators and heirs: your rights are worth fighting for, no matter how powerful the opposition. The closed-door negotiations that preceded the final settlements reportedly involved emotional appeals, not just financial discussions. Disney executives, perhaps for the first time, had to hear directly from families about what their loved ones' creations meant. The corporate machine was forced to confront the human hearts beating behind the balance sheets, the puppet strings of corporate control. Behind every Marvel movie, every Disney Plus series, every theme park attraction lies a shadowy world of corporate manipulation that would make any supervillain proud. The creator battles weren't isolated incidents. They were windows into a systematic approach to creative control that has redefined what it means to own art in the modern age. Welcome to Disney's real magic kingdom, where creativity is commoditized and artists become assets on a balance sheet. Let's expose the machinery. When Disney acquired Marvel in 2009, they weren't just buying characters. They were establishing a template for corporate content control that would reshape the entertainment industry. The VidAngel case from 2016 reveals this strategy perfectly. A small family-friendly streaming service trying to offer filtering technology gets crushed with a $62 million lawsuit. The message: innovation is only allowed when Disney controls it. The beauty of Disney's control mechanism lies in its multi-layered approach. First, buy the company outright. Then use legal warfare to establish dominance. Finally, reshape market expectations to their advantage. The creator families found themselves caught in this exact machinery. fighting not just for compensation, but for the very concept of creator autonomy.
I'd never heard that pretty little face. Do you moisturize?
Sometimes.
You bet your sweet ass you moisturize. There's probably all kinds of moisture on that face.
Thank you?
Gosh, Mr. Stark, you're real handsome. Shut your goddamn mouth, goofy!
This chilling exchange captures the psychological manipulation at the heart of corporate control, maintaining a friendly facade while wielding absolute power. The 2019 Fox acquisition showcases this strategy at scale. Disney didn't just buy Fox for X-Men and Fantastic Four rights. They eliminated a competitor that might have challenged their narrative control. Even the Department of Justice recognized the antitrust implications. When government regulators feel compelled to intervene, you know the power concentration has reached critical mass. But control isn't just about acquisition. It's about redefining value. Disney masterfully convinced the industry that characters created for $20 per page in 1963 had no ongoing value to their creators. That billion-dollar franchises built on these foundations owed nothing to the architects. It's economic gaslighting at corporate scale. The 2023 antitrust claims regarding streaming services expose another control mechanism. Disney wasn't content with owning content. They needed to control distribution channels. When consumers filed lawsuits alleging onerous contracts that stifled competition, U.S. District Judge Edward Davila validated these concerns. The pattern is clear. Total vertical integration equals total control. Consider the psychological warfare employed against creator families. Disney's strategy wasn't just legal. It was designed to exhaust and demoralize. By treating creative families as legal annoyances rather than valued partners, they signaled a corporate philosophy where control trumps respect. The message to future creators: your work has value, but you don't. The Redbox dispute from 2012 provides another illuminating example. Disney accused a DVD rental company of unfair competition, essentially claiming that even secondary distribution challenged their control. The pattern repeats. Any business model not controlled by Disney becomes a target for elimination. What's particularly insidious about this control mechanism is its self-perpetuating nature. By buying critics, influencing media coverage, and shaping industry narratives, Disney creates an environment where challenging their control seems futile. They've convinced many that this level of corporate power is not just normal, but necessary for entertainment production.
Good work out there today, team.
Hulk smash criminals.
Shame about all those apartment blocks, though.
Hulk was preventing future crime.
This dialogue perfectly encapsulates corporate doublespeak. We're heroes for eliminating competition before it threatens us. The creator settlements forced a crack in this control apparatus. For the first time, individual artist families proved they could challenge the machine and win. This wasn't just about money. It was about breaking the psychological hold that absolute corporate control had established over creative industries. Internal documents revealed during litigation exposed Disney's true philosophy. References to creators as contracted workers rather than creative partners showed how thoroughly dehumanized the creative process had become. Artists weren't collaborators in building mythologies. They were temporary employees whose relevance ended with their paychecks. The corporate control extends beyond just financial considerations. Disney has effectively created a mythological monopoly. By controlling both Marvel and potentially DC, had the Warner Brothers deal succeeded, they would have owned the modern American pantheon. These aren't just movie franchises. They're cultural touchstones that shape generational values and understanding. The settlements revealed another layer of control: information manipulation. When terms remained undisclosed and described as amicable, Disney maintained its preferred narrative while likely paying substantial sums behind closed doors. They control not just the content, but the story of the content's creation and ownership. What makes this control mechanism particularly dangerous is its invisibility to casual observers. Audiences see beloved characters and don't question the power structures behind them. The creator lawsuits pulled back the curtain on an industry where corporate control had calcified into creative tyranny. The ripple effects of challenging this control extend beyond entertainment. When creator families proved that corporate power could be questioned and changed, they inspired similar challenges across industries. The message resonated. No corporation, regardless of size or power, is above accountability to the human beings whose creativity fuels their empires. Disney's attempt to paint these legal challenges as threats to the entertainment industry's economic model backfired spectacularly. Instead, it exposed how that model relied on creative exploitation dressed up as business necessity. The settlements forced acknowledgement that sustainable success requires respecting, not erasing, creative origins. The control apparatus Disney built was designed to be impenetrable. Contracts so complex they intimidated challenge. Legal resources so vast they outmatched opposition. PR machinery so powerful it shaped public perception. Yet the creator families found the weak point. The court of public public opinion and the principle of creative justice. Disney used to control creative output. We see a cautionary tale about corporate power in the creative industries. The settlements don't just represent legal victories. They represent the beginning of a recalibration where control shifts from absolute corporate power to balanced creative partnerships. Future creators and their families now understand that these strings can be cut, that the puppet can fight back. Disney's empire isn't built on contracts alone. It's built on creative minds that deserve recognition beyond their initial compensation. The creator battles proved that even Disney's sophisticated control system has vulnerabilities when faced with determined opposition and public scrutiny. In the end, the war between the Avengers and Disney wasn't just a legal battle. It was a powerful stand against a system that often treats creativity like a commodity. For years, Disney built its empire on the backs of beloved characters, unforgettable stories, and the brilliance of the people behind them. But when those same people asked for fairness, for recognition, for a piece of what they helped build, they were met with silence, red tape, and closed doors. What started as private negotiations turned into a public reckoning. The Avengers, both on screen and behind the scenes, became symbols of resistance, not to storytelling, but to the corporate machine that tried to control it. Families of creators, lawyers, and even actors stepped up, not just for money, but for legacy, for the right to say, this was ours too. And now, the ripple effects are impossible to ignore. Disney, once seen as untouchable, has had to face real questions about ownership, ethics, and the future of entertainment. Will this lead to a new era where creators have more power? Or will the mouse behind the curtain find new ways to tighten its grip? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure. The Avengers may have saved the universe on screen, but off-screen, they just might have saved the soul of Hollywood. What are your thoughts on the Avengers taking a stand against Disney? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want more untold truths from behind the scenes, click on the cards on screen now.